Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Karen, and if you're stopping by for the first time, you are at the loft, and that means you are wicked smart. So today I'm bringing you this Snowman Lantern using Dollar Tree supplies, and it's part of a collaboration and an open playlist with a Winter Wonderland theme with Shawnee from Glitzy Stitches Home DIY and Tammy from Happiness Created. So make sure you check them out in the full playlist down below in my description box. And this couldn't come at a better time because we finally just got hit with some snow here in New England, and it truly does look like a winter wonderland. So let's get right in to our Snowman Lantern DIY. You're going to need 3 packs of these bamboo rings from the Dollar Tree. You're also going to need this pack of little mini 4-inch styrofoam combs. I get them at Hobby Lobby. And I think we're going to need 4.5 of them. You're going to need a little battery-operated pillar candle from the Dollar Tree. I love these. They're so realistic. They're a great value. You're going to need this little hat ornament that I get at Walmart. I get a bunch of these every year, and if you saw my last one, you saw the little gnome that I made with it. They're about $2.49 at Walmart. You're going to need some of these icicle crusty branches from the Dollar Tree. A little wood round. I think these came in a pack from Walmart, and they're about maybe 3.5 inches wide. I have some little wooden snowflakes from Dollar Tree and some twine. The snowflakes are different in size. I'm going to layer them. And my faux snow from the Dollar Tree, I store mine in a little jar because it's easier for me to sprinkle. And I have all these frosty picks that I cut off of a branch that I get from Hobby Lobby, and I'll be showing you that later on. You're going to need some of this chenille yarn from the Dollar Tree. And you're going to need some chalk paint of your choice in white. So we're going to take these hoops and we're going to make spheres out of them by just kind of layering them onto each other and sliding them on the best you can. By the time you get to the third one, it might be a little bit tight, but you can do it. And once you get them on and you finagle with them a little bit, they'll swivel. And you get them in a good formation. You want to get even spacing on both ends. Make sure they're crisscrossing and they're intersecting. And you get a nice crisscross pattern on the top and the bottom. I'm going to go in with some of my Aleene's tacky glue, and I'm going to put some glue in there, just a little bit, just to kind of hold it together. They slide around a little bit. I'm going to do that on both the top and the bottom, and then I'm going to get out these little pink clips from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to hold that into place, and I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom. I have some glue. I put some glue on my finger and I stuck it in there. It was dripping out of my bottle onto my table, so I used it up. And then I'm going to clamp this end, and I'm going to put that aside, and we're going to go through all the same steps with the larger bamboo hoops. Okay, get those all clamped up. I'm going to let them dry, and then I am going to go in and I'm going to give them a good coat of the Rust-Oleum chalk paint in white. So now we're going to take our little battery operated candle, and it's a little bit too yellow for me for this little Winter Wonderland DIY. So I'm going to paint it white. But first I'm going to take some masking tape and I'm going to tape off that little flame on the inside so I don't get any paint on that. And I'm bringing my tray over because we're going to paint it, and then while the paint is still wet, I'm going to glitter it. I'm not going to bother letting it dry, putting on the Mod Podge, and we're just going to skip that whole step. I'm at the end of the can of my paint, so it's pretty thick and pretty goopy, so it's perfect for this project. So I'm going to give it a good coat all on the inside and up along the edge. And while that paint is still dry, while the paint is still wet, before it dries, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle a generous amount of the faux snow. I love this glitter snow from Dollar Tree. I use it on so many things. I think it's so pretty. I'm going to shake that out, and then I'm going to go along and I'm going to finish the rest of the candle, get that all coated up really good with a good coat of paint, and then go ahead and get it all glittered and sparkly. Okay, so while letting that dry, and while that dries, I'm gonna paint up the rest of the components of this project that are gonna be white. And I take a piece of masking tape out and I tape down my little pieces. This is my hack for painting things that I don't want to hold in my hand and get my fingers all chalk painty. So I'm gonna go in with everything and give it a good coat, and then off camera, I'll flip that over when it dries and give the other side another coat. I love this hack. This is also great if you do a lot of work with the half round beads. You just lay them down on the flat side and you apply your paint or your antique wax and get them done in a jiffy. Okay, I'm going to lay those aside to dry, and I'm going to okay, so now we're going to go in with the little mini styrofoam cones. And we're going to cut them in half, and you'll see that there's little seam lines on each side of these, which is a great reference guide. So don't come at me for holding my little saw this way. I'm being very, very, very careful. But the tip of these cones are very flimsy, and you really have to kind of pinch it together while you get in there. And I'm really just kind of scoring it. A steak knife would also work, and if you had a hot knife, that would probably be the best thing and cut right through this with like butter. But trust me, I'm taking my time. If my husband could see me, he'd probably kill me. But I'm just going very slow, and I'm being very careful. And if you use something with a serrated edge, you're going to get a nice clean cut and you won't really get styrofoam and jagged pieces all over the place. It wasn't too bad. Once you get it going, it kind of cuts right through it, and you see you get a nice finished edge. Now you need 5 of those. You need 5 halves. I've already wrapped some with yarn off camera, and I'm going to show you how I wrapped this one. I start at the top because the bottom of this might get hidden a little bit with the greens. So if I make any mistake or there's any glue at the bottom of the tree, it's not going to show. So I just start at the top. I glue a little piece onto the back and then just start wrapping, gluing a little section at a time. I love these little cones. They're about 4 inches high, and they make the cutest little mini gnomes. If you've seen my big gnomes that I make with the Dollar Tree 9-inch cones, these make a cute little companion. So I'm just going to let this play out while you watch me wrap. Okay, so we got all 5 of them done, and I've already put some on the candle. I'm going to show you how I glue these on. And because the candle is curved, you're really only going to get contact right down through the middle of the tree. So I'm going to lay a nice good size bead of glue right down the middle of that tree. And I'm going to put it onto the candle, and I'm going to put a good amount of pressure on it and push that right into all that glitter and hold it down for a little bit until it cools off and sets up. And I'm going to go put the last one in. Same way, right down the middle. Lay it down, give it some pressure. That glitter is pretty crusty, so if you give it some good pressure, it'll adhere really good. So now I'm taking the little tips of all those little branches that I cut, and I'm going to layer them in between these little snowy trees. And I'm going to put a taller one in the back. And then I'm going to layer that with a little shorter piece in the front. And that's it for our little candle. And this would actually be so pretty just on its own, on a little pedestal, or maybe even in just like a little wreath. But that's going to go in the bottom of our lantern. So I did those 5 halves. And then I took a whole mini tree and wrapped that with the same chenille yarn. Set up all that aside. So now it's time to put all of our pieces together. And I'm going to take our big sphere. I'm going to put a good dollop of glue down in the middle of this little wood round. And I'm going to press my bottom of my snowman right into that. And I'm going to reinforce it with just a staple, with my staple gun. There's not a whole lot of contact space when you're gluing these down. There's not a lot that glues to each other, but we're going to fix that problem to make sure that it's sturdy, and I'll show you how in a second. So now we're going to glue the top on, and you want to line up your rings so they're all going the same way, if that makes sense. You want to make sure that you have 2 rings open in the front and all around, actually. And I'm going to take my drill, and I'm just going to, with my tiniest little drill bit, I'm going to drill 2 little holes on either side for his twiggy arms. And if you don't have a drill, you could probably hammer in a big nail, a big thick nail to make a hole, or maybe even a hole punch would even go through this. It's pretty soft wood. So here's the big branch that I get from Hobby Lobby, and it's all snowy and crusted, and it's got these cute little pine cones on it, and I cut it all up, including some of the pine cones. And we're going to make a base around the bottom of this snowman. So, and I'm sorry for the angle. I'm still working with, how to film and my equipment and everything, but I'm gluing the bottom tip of the branch. I'm actually gluing it onto the wood round and then looping it over and under the ring. So I'm going to try and weave the greenery in around, kind of going in the same direction, and make a little wreath. And by weaving it in and out of the rings, it's going to secure that and reinforce it, okay? Now, I didn't get glue on the rings themselves in the front because at the last minute I realized I need to get that candle that we just made. I need to get that in the inside somehow. So I wanted to make sure that I had a little bit of wiggle room, and I might be able to spread those rings out a little bit. So I tried to really be careful and keep the glue on the wood round only, especially in the front. And you'll see what I mean when we get a little bit further down the line. So I'm just going to keep taking my pieces, and I'm just going to keep gluing them in, keep going around in a spiral, keep gluing them in until my eyes are happy, concentrating on making sure to leave the center of the snowman fairly flat, because we're going to put our lantern back. We're going to put our little candle in there. We want to have a nice, fairly flat surface for it to sit on. So I'm just going to let this play out while I go ahead and keep gluing, making my little base here. And now I've taken some of the pieces and I've glued them into kind of like a half circle. And this is going to be his scarf. So these pieces are going to go in between the little sphere and the big sphere. And again, I'm trying to tuck them under and over, trying to make sure that I keep them the middle of that flat, so when I glue in my little tree at the top, it stands up nice and straight. So now I'm making the tails for his scarf, and I've got some longer pieces. And I'm going to glue them into the side, tucking them under there really good, and having them drape down like they are the little tails of his scarf. So now I'm going to take our little tree, a little whole tree, and I'm going to glue that one in. I'm going to glue that right in the center. I don't know if you could see there that I left that area pretty clear of any greenery so that we would have good contact, and I'd be able to get this down in there and have it standing up nice and straight. This is where you'll see where I'm really glad that one of those little rings had a little bit of play, because I was able to kind of pry it open a little bit, just enough to get that candle in there. And we're not gluing this down because you need to be able to lift it up to get to the switch to turn it on. So that went better than I thought it was going to. And now I'm just going to stick in his little twiggy hands, arms and hands. These are just the bits from the branches that I cut all the little ends off of, because we never throw anything away, right? Gotta hang on to all the scraps. And I've taken my little snowflakes and I've layered them one on top of the other, and I've given them some glitter, which doesn't really pick up too well on camera. And I added a little string to it, and I'm just gonna glue the string to his hand so it looks like he's holding a little snowflake. Now we're going to take his hat and we're going to glue his hat on, and that makes this DIY complete. If you guys give this a try and you have trouble on any of the steps, please Also, what you didn't see on camera was I went in and hit the outside of the rings with some Mod Podge, and I did end up sprinkling with the glitter snow. So thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to do all the YouTubey things. You know how to push all the buttons, and make sure you check out that playlist in my description box below. See you in the next one.